All right.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 36 of the All Dolphins podcast on YouTube. Also on audio podcasts on the Miami Dolphins Insider on the Fans First Sports Network. We're everywhere. We want you to subscribe, download, like, share. Is there anything
But we
else?
especially want you to watch it on YouTube because they write big fat checks.
Okay. We're gonna answer questions from fans that Omar asked for and received. Before we do that, a little news item to take care of. The Dolphins on Sunday morning waived rookie free agent defensive lineman Anthony Montalvo 1 day after he had a sack in the practice scrimmage. They worked out 3 defensive linemen on Saturday. Deshaun Hand, 4th round pick of the Detroit Lions.
Like him. I like Deshaun
Always
Hand.
hurt though, and I will tell you in a second. Marvin Wilson, formerly of Florida State and the Eagles, and Roderick Perry, most recently of the Seahawks. And there was a report on Sunday morning that Perry is re-signing with the Seahawks. So if the Dolphins make a signing on the defensive line quickly, it's going to be likely Marvin Wilson or Deshaun Hand. I like Deshaun Hand like you, except did some research on him. 2018, I'm going to mix up the years, but for the past 4 years, he's wound up on IR each year, every time with a different body part, knee, groin, ankle. Last one was either pec or quad. And spoke to my guy in Detroit, and basically what he told me, always intriguing potential, but the guy is always hurt.
Okay. I think Hand can definitely fill in for Raekwon Davis, and that's my biggest issue. There is no backup nose tackle. Watching what they're doing schematically, I don't think they're a 3-4 defense, but that I don't think 3-4 is their base. Let me correct that. I don't think 3-4 is their base. So, it is what it is. But I haven't seen Hand play. I know I liked him in the draft process, and I know I did not like Marvin Wilson Jr.
Okay.
And I don't think Marvin Wilson Jr. can play nose tackle. I think, and Jalen Twyman, is that his name?
Yes.
Has been one of the more promising of the players that I don't know their names.
Okay.
If you follow me, you know what that batch is. I've seen him make plays on a consistent basis, as I said in the stock report. He has been player number 5, player number 6, player number 4 of my assessments of players that I'm impressed with in practice. He finally cracked the stock report after the scrimmage game. Very productive practice for him. I don't think he can do what I need him to do because he's 6'2", 285. However, you make plays, you get to stay.
Yeah, I've noticed him in pass rushing situations. I haven't noticed him once, like holding his ground and making a play in the run game. So, okay, let's jump to question. Before we do that, the final word on these defensive linemen. Hopefully, one of them can lend a hand. Sorry.
All right. Let's start with Evan, who gets the important questions. What will it take to get Omar to wear an Expos hat like my fellow Montreal Poupart?
Love it. That's all you. I mean,
I don't wear hats like that. I am looking for a Vic Fangio style hat. Like that thing was a thing of beauty. If you saw it, had the Dolphins logo. It was. I was like, oh, okay, that's a nice little fashion style there. Dolphin fans, a number of people asked me for it on Twitter. It's a dope hat, but I don't wear baseball hats.
Okay,
my head is just oddly shaped.
I want to point out the Expos hat here. It's an ode to my hometown, number one, and it's an ode as well to dislodged professional sports franchises. So that's partly why I wear it. Go ahead.
A lot of those. Mark Anthony Travels, who asks, how are the new defensive schemes helping develop the offense, and what are Tyreek Hill's thoughts practice against Vic Fangio's defense now? We don't know Tyreek's thoughts on it. He really hasn't. Huh? He hasn't been asked, but the first week you can see them having some issues with the zone. The second week, you could see them installing and incorporating some zone beaters. I think it's going to benefit Tua in the long run, just because if you practice against something on a regular basis, just like he practiced against the press for the last 2 years, it's going to sharpen his tools so he can become better at carving that defense up. So what I love about the Vic Fangio defense, and Tua has brought this up time and time again, is before the snap, it all looks the same. It all looks the same. And after the snap, you have no idea what just happened. And it takes you a minute to process it. So imagine the challenge that quarterbacks are facing. So ultimately, I'm going to think it makes a better offense.
Important point to raise here. One of the defenses that gave the Dolphins problems last year, despite injuries up the wazoo on that unit, was the Chargers, which is run by Brandon Staley, whose defensive coordinator last year was Ronaldo Hill, who's now with the Dolphins, and it's an offshoot of the Vic Fangio system. So them getting a look at it on a daily basis will be beneficial, starting with that opener against the Chargers.
Isaiah Bufil asked, considering most of the defensive players have played in one system for 4 years, do you think the defense will struggle coming out the gate?
That wouldn't be the reason. And they've had the whole camp. And I've been consistent in my thoughts. I think the notion of switching from one scheme to another, and that's going to create problems. While it has some merit, I think that's one of the most overblown things in all of football. I mean, these are professional. They spend the entire time. What do you think they do in the offseason program? It's all about learning, schooling, meetings, and all that, walkthroughs to learn the scheme. These are guys who have played football throughout their lives. They've gone through different schemes. You're not going to find a player who, from the time he was in high school to the time he plays in the NFL, it's been one scheme only. So again, I'm not a big fan of like, oh my God, they're going to struggle because they're switching system. No, I'm not buying that.
I don't agree either. I don't think they're going to struggle because they're switching systems. I think they have the potential to struggle. And I've said this from jump. The depth on this team concerns me. And Vic Fangio kind of addressed it. He's not happy with a lot of units. He basically praised Javon Holland and Christian Wilkins. And I would kind of agree with him and acknowledge everybody else, and that includes Xavier Howard. Xavier is not practicing at Xavier level. And keep in mind, I don't even think Xavier should be practicing. And I've shared that. Like, why chance it? You know he's got an injury history. And I liked what he did in the scrimmage where he took a couple reps and then he sat it down. Like, if Xavier's practicing 12, 11 on 11 reps, okay. If he's practicing 20-ish, I'm not comfortable. So he cherry picks a situation, and he's defending Tyreek Hill 80% of the snaps. So but I don't feel like they have a strong safety. I don't feel like they have anybody who can cover tight end. I don't feel like they have a backup inside linebacker. I'm not comfortable with where Emmanuel Ogbah is. I'm not comfortable with where Andrew Van Ginkel has to play inside linebacker. I'm not comfortable with your depth at inside linebacker. I've said that like 3 times now. And do you have a third cornerback? Do you have another starter other than Kadu and Howard?
I think they're going to be okay there. And
okay.
Dude, how many teams have Jalen Ramsey and X as starters?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jalen Ramsey is going to be on the shelf for a little bit, so they're going to have, let's say, X and Eli Apple, or X and
Cam Smith,
if he continues to shine, or X if he continues to show that the light has come on and the scheme switch benefits beneficial for him. We talk about scheme switch, and it's not so much about a scheme switch. It's about going from a heavy man coverage to heavy zone coverage. That's different. And in the case of Noah, that completely suits his skill set.
Yep.
But I agree with you. They're a very top heavy team on defense.
Not just defense, but anyway.
Well, the question was about defense.
Yeah. Randy asks, is the improvement of Austin Jackson and Noah Igbinoghene fool's gold? If no, does that change the success of Chris Greer's 2020 draft class?
Well, the answer is no. I mean, duh, obviously it changes everything. But is it fool's gold? Let's ask this question again in November, December. I mean, we're talking in training camp. There's only so much they can do in training camp, and that's to show that there's reason to think there'll be progress, and that's what they've done. I don't think at this time last year, neither of us were feeling as good about either one of those players as we do right now. Now, you want to guarantee that they're going to kick ass once the regular season starts? Sorry, I can't give it.
Yeah, I'm ask me this question after I've watched two stints of joint practices. Like, that's fair. Like, to me, I'm a little bit troubled with watching Austin Jackson versus Jalen Phillips because I know Jalen Phillips is a better player than what he's shown so far. Now, could Austin Jackson be that good? Yeah, potentially. I think both of them were the 18th pick in the draft. So
30, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Jackson and Phillips? Yes, they were both 18. Sorry.
Could they be comparable level talents? Yeah, but I don't think so. And if they are comparable level talent, then Austin Jackson's a monster right now because I believe that Jalen Phillips is a monster. But, I'm doing a ranking of my top 10 performers in camp so far, and Jalen Phillips isn't on my list. Neither is Austin Jackson, and I'm a little bit surprised by that. I think Jalen Phillips is a star. I think he's going to be, talent-wise, he should be that next pass rusher that gets another $100 million contract. I'm not seeing that player in training camp right now. Maybe joint practices. Maybe it's the toe injury. I don't know. I don't know.
It could be both of those. I think Jalen Phillips, I think, would he have like 8.5 sacks each of his first 2 seasons? I'm not sure how much higher his ceiling is. I reserve judgment on that. As you give me a look like I'm crazy, which isn't the first time, and certainly won't be the last.
Okay.
I don't know if I see like a Cam Wake, Jason Taylor type ceiling on Jalen yet, but I also think
what's missing.
I don't think it's natural. He gets there by work ethic, building up his body and all that, relentless effort. I just don't see like necessarily.
You don't see the moves.
No, I don't see the moves. I don't see like a guy like I don't see Jalen Phillips like going after the quarterback and that's a stud pass rusher.
Okay.
He's a guy to me who maxes his potential. And again, and of course, I'm going to be a hater. I don't know exactly what his ceiling is. I need to be shown.
I'm not going to disagree with you because I don't see Cam Wake bend moves, flex, pass rushing, moves. So you make a very valid point. I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. I don't know. I expect more. Now, sometimes I feel like players and vets, they have you take it easy on me, I take it easy on you kind of agreement.
Yeah.
And
except, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but except if you watch Jason Phillips in practice, he's usually not a guy who kind of like slows down a little bit. I think the toe issue where he got stepped on first or second practice, without question, has been a factor. Because he usually goes all out of practice.
That's true. That's fair. I don't know I'm surprised. I'm honestly surprised at what I'm seeing. And either Austin Jackson's really that good or something's happened to Jalen Phillips where he's kind of taking his foot off the gas. And I can honestly tell you, I don't know what the answer is. And this week's practice against Atlanta will probably give me a good understanding. Jose, can't say your last name, asks, Fangio's D is more 3-4. Is Andrew Van Ginkel going to have a positive impact on middle linebacker? There's no mention of him, and I believe since last year that spot is weak and wide open.
To be determined. I don't necessarily expect Van Ginkel to play a major role on defense. To me, he's more of like a utility spot kind of player. he's got to end. But to me, the question is, okay, can he maximize the snaps that he has, which he's done a very good job of doing in his first seasons with the Dolphins, first 4 seasons.
Now, in terms of the answer to the question about Fangio's D being more 3-4, it's not really 3-4. It's
Well,
I mean more 4-3. It's 2 defensive tackles and then Chubb and Phillips on the edges. You got a nickel on the field and 2 linebackers, and that's I don't know if I would call that a 4-3 because the outside guys are outside guys.
almost like a 2-4-5. Yeah, 2-4-5.
Yeah.
They'll do a lot
Okay.
of different things. Sometimes they'll have 3 pure defensive linemen up front, Wilkins, Sealer, Davis. Sometimes it'll be just Sealer and Wilkins. Sometimes in pass rushing situations, which you'll love, they'll have Emmanuel Ogbah put his hand on the ground with 3 other D linemen. They're going to mix and match. To me, I think the formation you're going to see the most is 3-4 or 2-4-5. Again, unless you want to count Phillips and Chubb on the outside as D linemen, which they're really not.
Yeah, it is more 2-4-5. You're right, and you play 700 snaps in the nickel, so it makes sense to work on that as your base. I like, I like the line where there's Wilkins, Raekwon, and Ogbah. I like that line.
Yes, you do. Yeah, I know you
and the 2 edges, but I think that's their best line. Obviously, they do not. So we'll see who's right and who's wrong. And I think Vic Fangio has me by about 20 years of experience.
Yeah, and also understand for the season opener, they're playing the Chargers, who are not a running team. So I would expect you're going to see that 2-4-5 alignment.
Let's move to the next question. Is Robert Jones a better option at left guard than Liam Eichenberg? I'll let you dive in on that one.
Maybe. Hard to say no right now, considering Liam's not having a great camp. Again, understanding that we're basing our answers on what we see at practice live, where we're not 100% focusing on specific guys. I know you like to focus on the offensive line. You still can't watch all 5 guys at the same time.
Correct.
Well, maybe for the next practice, just focus entirely on the left guard position, and you can come up with a great answer. Based on my observations, I don't know that anybody's floored me among the guys who've taken snaps at that spot. I think the Dolphins are still waiting for somebody to raise their hand and go, I'm the guy, you'd have to put me in the lineup.
Isaiah Wynn, Lester Cotton, Dan Feeney, Robert Jones. Who else wants a shot?
Liam Eichenberg.
Huh?
Liam Eichenberg.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the guys that, like, Liam's been put on notice. You don't become the only guy rotating with the starting unit, and that just doesn't impact you. That just doesn't, and we talked about it in the last podcast. I feel like he's in a bit of quicksand right now. And he needs somebody to throw him a rope. And that somebody might be, as you pointed out, it might be Teron Armstead. And it didn't help when I was all gung-ho about Isaiah Wynn coming in and just replacing him and figuring out what you have there. And then I watched Isaiah Wynn get just whiff on a block from a guy I don't even know his name who got cut.
Anthony Montalvo, the aforementioned player the Dolphins waived Sunday morning.
Yeah. Never knew him, never heard of him. I know he's from UCF, but like in 9 practices, you've made 1 play and it was beating the guy who started 40 NFL games. And then you got cut the next day. So I don't know what to think about that situation. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Do I feel like they've got that player on the roster? I hope that they do. If they don't, then I think you've done a really bad job of building your line because you knew it was problem number 1, if not problem number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you do, or how did you do to address it?
Good point.
Let me get to the next question, which is, Can you guys name one guy on offense and one on defense that really needs to step up going forward if they want to make the team? And this is from Enable Swing. Maybe he's a swinger. Go ahead.
Omar said that, not me.
Just connecting the dots.
Okay. Who really needs to step it up to make the roster?
Step it up.
Okay, well, I mean, there are obvious guys who are like bottom of the roster. I'm going to give you one on offense. You can come up with the first one on defense. And I mention him only because he's a draft pick. And usually draft pick have a leg up on making the roster. And I would say that's Elijah Higgins, the 6th round pick. Converted wide receiver, now getting a shot at tight end. I don't know that so far he's done anything to really make the coaches convinced that they need to keep him on the 53. So he needs to do more from where I stand.
I'm gonna double down on your claim on Elijah Higgins, and I'm gonna give you a Robbie Chosen. And I don't feel comfortable. People have like, oh, they know what he's done and what he's capable of, and when he gets opportunities, he makes plays and blah 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 blah. Until you make the team, you don't make the team. And right now, Robbie Chosen is clawing and scratching to actually just get 11 on 11 reps and get playing time. And, I don't know. I've written a column about it, and I love being the advocate. This is where I feel like I'm important and valued. I love being the advocate for the guys who can't speak up for themselves and who have no voice. And Robbie clearly can't speak up in this situation. And I've heard from players on the team, they don't feel it's fair either. But it's the situation that you're in. You are an 8-year vet. They know what you do. They know what you're capable of. If Tyreek goes down, you instantly become a starter because they know they don't have anybody on the roster who can even replicate the speed that they need to make their entire offense work. So that makes you a very valuable piece. Now, does it make you safe? Would you answer that? Does it make you safe?
But I don't think this is where you and I differ. I don't think he needs. I think the Dolphins right now know exactly whether Robbie Chosen's making the team or not. And my guess is he's making.
What's the answer? What's the answer?
My guess is he's making the team. So they're going to give him a few reps here and there, and give the other wide receivers their fair shot.
So you have him on the team
right now. Yes,
I have him off the team.
Right now, I'm going to do roster projection 2.0 Monday morning on alldolphins.com. Check it out. Unless I have a change of heart between now and when I wake up tomorrow morning, I have him on the 53, and I think the Dolphins again know what they have. He doesn't need the additional reps. Let's try to find somebody on defense to answer the.
I got my guy. I got my guy on defense. Channing Tindall.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
I watched Aubrey Miller call the defense on a unit that Channing Tindall was on, and I said to myself, "That's great for Aubrey, not so great for Tindall." And when an undrafted rookie is doing the job that you technically should be doing, that's not a good look. Am I wrong?
No, I agree.
And I'm going to quote Cam Wolf. I don't know if he even wants to put out there, but he said it to me early in practice. We were talking about.
You already did that on a previous episode. So
I know.
Go ahead.
But he brought up the statement. If you were a 6th round pick, he would have already been cut. And it's absolutely true. Like, you got to see some flash. You got to see something. And when Vic Fangio, when he was brought up, Vic Fangio, he's like, he doesn't know my defense. Like, you've been here. You've worked. You've studied. I talked to you. You said, man, I like this defense a lot better. I know it. I feel comfortable. Well, your defensive coordinator, who is known as a straight shooter, said, you don't know my defense. And one thing I want to point out, I remember we were talking, you know how we always talk to the veterans and we want them to give us glowing, great quotes about all rookies and tell us how sensational they'll be. I remember last year talking to Jerome Baker about Channing Tindall as a group, wasn't one-on-one. And he was just like, yeah, he got a lot to learn. and you just think it's just be like, shower him with praise. He was just like, yeah, nah, he got a lot to learn. And now we're year 2. Got a lot to learn. There's athleticism there. To me, if Channing Tindall wants to be safe, he needs to become a head buster on special teams. Like, you could have a nice 8-year career right now, going out there, busting heads and taking names. You have the athleticism to do that. I think draft status will keep him safe. But right now, I got to put him behind Aubrey Miller,
who's a rookie free agent. Agree with everything you just said, and he would be my first choice too. But since I don't want to duplicate and go with the old what Omar said, I'll throw out another name out here, and it may not be fair because I don't know what else he can do. Because to me, he's like a young guy. If it wasn't for the Dolphins' depth at outside linebacker / edge defender, I think he might make the team. But
I know where you're going.
Cameron Good. I don't know if that's who you thought I was going to say.
Yeah. Answer this question.
Go ahead.
Mitchell Agude, Cameron Good.
Cameron Good. But right now, I don't know that either one.
Yeah.
That either one's making the roster.
They're both on my practice squad. They're both not sponge worthy, to quote a Seinfeld reference.
The dude has done nothing wrong. Any splashes here and there. The problem
he has done absolutely nothing wrong.
The Dolphins just have too many guys ahead of him at that position. Chubb, Phillips, Ogbah, Van Ginkel, who also can slide inside as well. Malik Reed, who they signed as a free agent.
Is it good though? There's a lot of guys, a lot of bodies. Is it good?
Well, Chubb and Phillips are good. Ogbah's solid, and he's not going anywhere with his contract. Van Ginkel, we've addressed, has always made plays, unless they're going to use him as a pure inside linebacker and then cut an inside linebacker out of the roster, whether it's Tindall and Aubrey Miller, who will both wind up getting cut. Maybe that opens up a spot for Cameron Good. This is where it would behoove him to be noticeable in the joint practices in the preseason games, to where he convinces the Dolphins he's more valuable as an outside guy than keeping an extra guy inside.
Okay. Gets us to our next question. Kevin asks, is Ogbah on a milk carton? I never hear his name other than he did media availability the other day. How has he looked so far? Poop, why don't you take that one?
Why do you want me to take it? Again, man, I'm surprised we get a question on Ogbah, because it's not like we haven't talked about him quite a bit. Again, if it wasn't for the fact that he has $15 million guaranteed, I think he'd be somebody, and maybe the Dolphins are doing this anyway. The Dolphins absolutely would shop.
Okay.
He's a guy, except I have a hard time seeing a team trading him with his salary. The problem again with Ogbah is he had a very specific role. I have said all along he was maxed out in terms of production by the Brian Flores scheme.
You don't see Minnesota as a team that could potentially say, Brian Flores, I need some edge help. Give me Ogbah for a 6th-round pick. And would you take that 6th-round pick?
Man, the problem there is you do that and Chubb or Phillips go down, you just lost your stud depth over there. That's the issue there. And do the Vikings are they gonna make that move after they just gave big money to Daniel Hunter? I don't know. I don't know who else they have on the other side.
I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. I never thought about the possibility of Ogbah. I do not feel, and this is not a knock on Ogbah, I initially came into this training camp saying to myself, I thought Ogbah would be the guy that benefits the most from Vic Fangio's scheme because of his versatility and ability to do different various things. And because he's a head-on power rusher. They're asking him to be more of an outside linebacker. I don't think he has the twist and bend, stunt, pass rush moves, hand. Like, that's why you move from that position in Cleveland. It was a scheme that didn't fit you. And I get it. You're going to cash your paycheck and you're going to be thankful and you're going to say, yeah, massa, and I appreciate you and do whatever you need to do. But I don't think this move is going to help your career long term.
No, and I mean, can we be honest and say that Emmanuel Ogbah's best fit is as a 4-3 defensive end? Can we agree on that?
Absolutely. No question.
Okay. And the thing is, before he got to Miami, like his 1 year in KC, or his last year in KC, he was off to a good start sack wise, but he never came close to the numbers he got in Miami. And we can say whatever we want about Brian Flores. To me, what he did with Ogbah was, I don't want to say brilliant, but it was very, very impressive. Talk about maxing out a guy's, what he does well.
Our next question comes from Killer Smurf. He knows who he is. Has Connor Williams developed the yips with snapping the ball? It seems like he's starting to happen more frequently again.
He had the one really, really bad one. Was it Friday? I think it was.
Yeah, and then he had one in the scrimmage. We used to get like 2 a day. I'm not complaining about 2 in an entire first 9 weeks.
All right. We'll keep an eye. Here's what we'll do. We'll monitor it. We'll keep an eye on it. I'm not at the stage where I would be concerned.
Yeah. I mean, he used to be bad. He's like
training camp. Yeah.
He used to be bad. He's respectable. He's had 2 bad snaps. It happens.
Well, here's the thing though. He was bad in Dallas because they looked at him as a center for a while in Dallas. And the shotgun snaps were such an issue. They were like, you know what, Connor, stay guard.
Optimistic Fin fan. I've heard nothing about the linebacker unit. How important is the unit in Fangio's defense, and will they be a liability? You go first.
Will they be a liability? No, I think with Baker and Long, I think they're solid. Again, are we counting the edge defenders? The edge defenders have to do the
Let's
job.
exclude the edge defenders.
You said exclude or include?
Exclude.
Exclude. Then it's Baker, Long, Duke Riley, and if they keep a 4th, Miller.
Oh, they got to keep a 4th. There's no if they keep a 4th.
Or if it's Van Ginkel as a swing guy, that could be your 4th. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Baker and Long, solid. Long has flashed at times in training camp. I don't know that they have a Roquan Smith, for example, who damn would have looked good last year when the Bears were putting him on the trading block.
No, you got Chubb instead. Stop crying about it.
Okay, sorry. But I think they'll be fine.
Okay, you think they'll be fine. I think they'll be the liability. I think they are the weak, other than strong safety. I think they're the weak link of this defense. I think when one player goes down with an injury, that unit will be hemorrhaging yardage.
Yes.
And
I'm not playing the injury game though, but go ahead.
And what are you going to do about it? And I'm not confident. That's just me. But I like what I saw from David Long in the first padded week of practice. I like the instincts. If Tua's got durability issues, David Long's got 2 times the durability issues. So
is he though?
And he plays a physical position.
Is he though? It's 2 years. It's 2 years of a lot of hamstring injuries. And here's the thing though, Omar, is like they have high-end talent on the defensive line. They have high-end talent with their outside pass rushers. They have high-end talent at cornerback. They
had high-end talent at cornerback.
Wow, you're gonna dump on X like that? Holy
no, they've got 1 elite cornerback.
How many teams have 1 elite cornerback? Half the league has 1 elite cornerback.
Okay, fair.
Okay,
all right, I'll allow it.
Okay, when Ramsey comes back in the second half of the season or the last quarter of the season, now you got 2 studs at cornerback, and they have a high-end free safety. I mean, you can't have high-end stud Pro Bowl guys everywhere. I think while they don't have stud linebackers, I think they're fine. Again, if injuries don't hit, but you can say that everywhere though.
Okay, let's get to our next question. We got 4 minutes left. Let's try to address 4 questions.
Okay.
After Saturday and all your evaluations, is there a glaring hole on this team that cannot be filled with the current roster?
Yeah, pass catching tight end.
Nose tackle. What did Tua, Scooter ask, why does Tua still have the same issues he had since his rookie year? Having McDaniels and Tyreek Hill kind of hit a lot, but the same issues definitely still there.
What issues?
Huh?
He still has durability issues.
Okay, that's not going anywhere. And you really didn't do enough to address your offensive line to ensure that it didn't go anywhere. So, yeah, I don't know how to even respond to that one. What's your impression of Aubrey Miller? And is he making waves? That's from Mick Drippy's twin.
There's something there, not a finished product, kind of on the smallish side. Ceiling to be determined.
Okay. How has Michael Washington wants to know, how has Devon Achane looked before the injury?
Like Savon Ahmed.
Good answer. Good answer.
That's what it looks like. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for those who get offended by that. He's smallish. He's fast. He's quick. You get him in the open field. Good luck catching him. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, but it's kind of he's not going to break. He's not going to break tackles. I wouldn't expect.
He does not look like a starting running back right now.
He does not.
And I'm sorry if that bothers fans that are obsessed with rookies. Like, he looks like a guy who's going to get 200 snaps on offense this season. Daniel asks, how has the tight end blocking been?
I've seen some decent blocks from, actually, I would say all of them at one time or another. I can't say that I've been blown away. I haven't seen any egregious misses, though.
Okay, our take. What position group is the greatest concern?
I mean, really, is that really a question?
Yeah, what position group is the greatest concern?
O-line. But I'm gonna couch that by saying, let's ramp up the concern if the O-line continues to underperform when Teron Armstead is actually in the lineup.
Okay, JP's got a good one. What's the one thing you must see in joint practices next week from the offense, defense, and Tua?
Why don't you go ahead and go first, and I'll just piggyback.
Efficiency from Tua. Want to see big plays, third down conversions, pocket presence, throwing the ball away. From the defense, I need to know if Christian Wilkins is that dude. I just got to know, because the way he's beating up on Liam Eichenberg and Robert Hunt and Connor Williams, if he does that against Atlanta, I'm quickly putting a contract in front of him and asking him to sign it. And we'll see where that goes. Well, this is a wrap for the Q&A segment of it. We've got joint practices Tuesday and Thursday.
Oh, Tuesday and Wednesday.
Sorry, my bad. Tuesday and Wednesday. You know how to find us on alldolphins.com. Please subscribe to the podcast. Please check out the website. We will see you back Tuesday.